Okay, perfect. Nagaraju, thank you. As discussed, we have just started the recording. We're going to ask you a few different questions on your background, and then we'll go through some technical Java questions, a few in AWS and Kafka. We'll send this recording alongside your resume to the hiring manager. As of right now, we are pursuing the senior Java development role with ADP. First question, tell me about your most recent project working with Delta Airlines, a little bit about the scope, tech stack, and then what your contributions were.
Okay. Yeah, let me explain the current project with Delta Airlines. Here, the scope of the work, we are migrating the complete existing ecosystem to the AWS environment. That is the scope of the work. And my role here as a senior Java full stack developer, there I am going to interacting with the to create an APIs for the backend using AWS Lambda, and for the front end we are using Angular framework. Yeah,
Okay, perfect. Thank you. That is a nice, short, succinct answer.
yeah,
Now, for I noticed in your resume,
yes.
you only have about 2 years of experience with React. I do believe we're primarily going to be working on the backend systems here at ADP, but can you tell me where you worked with React and how comfortable you are with it?
Yeah, the React experience that I do have when I was working with Atlanticus Holding Corporation along with Wells Fargo, like where I created the complete UI components using the React lifecycle hooks that we have use effect use. These are the different lifecycle hooks that we used for the application where we can interacting with the backend APIs, the what are the APIs that has been developed by the backend team. That's where they consume those APIs from the React application.
Okay, and I see plenty of experience working. I see you've worked with DynamoDB, some other NoSQL
Yes,
databases.
correct. Yeah.
Looks like a lot of work in Angular, uh, JavaScript, TypeScript. Those are all
Yes.
relevant to ADP as well, so that's good. Next question.
Mhm.
We use AWS CDK. Can you tell me a little bit? I don't see it listed on your resume. Do you have any experience working with those tools?
Yeah, I do have an experience with the working with AWS CDK environment. The majorly the CDK, it is going to like as part of our backend API implementation, we are creating the AWS Lambdas. For this particular AWS Lambda, we are going to building the CDK pipeline environment. We are going to creating the folder structure of the pipeline folder. There we can write the Python script to read the data from the SSM parameter store to execute it. And there we are going to having the complete like as part of the when we are creating the structure of the CDK, we can have the pipeline as a folder structure where internally it can have the configuration, what type of configuration that we need to provide to execute the environment of the application. And even we do have the script, like the script that is going to having the what are the steps that it has to execute. Like first it is going to executing to look out for the parameter store, what are the variable that we define for the environment side. And along with that, it is going to executing the complete Maven build project, and even the artifacts is going to deploying the Nexus repository. Those kind of information that we can define into the CDK environment.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I think that's a great answer there. Okay, so a couple questions between Kafka, Java, and some AWS questions. We'll get started on these technical ones, okay?
Yeah, sure. Okay, yeah.
Explain the difference between a Kafka partition and topics.
Okay. And the top, like the Kafka topic, it is kind of the where we can post the data into the topic. The partition, it's going to representing the particular topic. We can have a multiple partition. Each partition can specific to the message structure, how it is going to store. Because as part of the Kafka event, when the event came from the when we are listening the data from the different topic, the data coming into that, it is going to segregate in the number of partitions.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Thank you.
Yes.
How would you design a DLQ for an AWS MSK?
Okay. Can you repeat the question again?
How would you design a dead letter queue for a strategy for an AWS MSK?
Okay, dead letter Q. Okay, DLQ. Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure I'm asking that question correctly, so
Yeah, yeah.
bear with me if I.
Yes, yes. Yeah, you're asking the correct question only, Rocky. Like what I'm thinking, like when we are creating the topic, the dead letter queue that we can define, like as part of the MSK, we can have the cluster, the scope of the level, we can have the cluster. Under the cluster, we are going to having the topic creation, and this DLQ that we can define the majorly like whenever the the queue is not available, whenever the queue is not able to listen the event from the consumer level, at the time we can create the another topic structure where it can take the move forward. And like this is only for the to perform the other action.
Okay, good. Couple questions on AWS.
Okay.
Experience between a state machine or a Lambda. Why would you decide to set up a state machine?
Okay, state mission and Lambda, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, the state mission, it's majorly it is going to discussing about the how we are going to executing the lambda function, like the state mission, like it is kind of the step function. The meaning of the state mission, it's going to interact the step function. For the step function we can use the state mission. From there it is going to acting an event for the particular lambda. It can listen the from the state mission. From there it will hit to the lambda function.
Okay, got it. Can you explain why when is a Lambda only approach better versus a state machine?
Okay, the lambda better approach when we do have the specific functionality where we can define the business capability to create an API for the to expose to the user interface. Other than we can go only for the lambda. The state mission, when we want to perform some other activity, like the particular lambda that has to be executed in the different environments, like SIT, prod, different kind of the environment that we need to execute rather than doing the action from the pipeline. We can create the state mission where we can run the script to execute the parameters from the production environment.
Okay, perfect. And how would you handle secrets and environment variables in your services?
Sequence and environment variable.
Secrets and environment
Yes, sir.
variables. Yes.
Yeah. As part of the AWS environment, the secret, the key that can be stored in the AWS secret manager of the AWS, because it is this all the secret is not required to store in our the Java layer level, because the secret that we can store in the secret manager. And the environment, the particular environment variables, even we can define the SSN parameters store for the AWS environment, because when we are going to, if we want to do any kind of the modification, just we can modify from the AWS environment. Based on the key, it will take the latest value that has been modified from the AWS environment. Yeah.
Okay. I've got 3 or 4 Java questions here
Yeah.
that I want to go through. So let's say you're writing a Lambda function in Java.
Yes, sir.
What
Yes.
are key considerations to ensure it starts quickly and runs efficiently?
Okay. Yeah, the key consideration for Lambda, there are two different activity that we have, like it has the cold start and warm start for the Lambda. And the key factors for the lambda, when we are going to creating the lambda function, we need to define the complete the AWS cloud formation template as a YAML structure, and what kind of the VPC and everything that we can start. When we are writing from the Java application, we can create the handler class, the handler, and even we need to have the AWS lambda dependencies for the project. And when what will happen, for suppose whenever we are going to hitting the lambda, just it is going to listening the event from the handler only.
Okay. You mentioned TypeScript and JavaScript experience, so I have a
Yes.
question on that. What are some features in TypeScript that help write safer and more maintainable code compared to JavaScript?
Yeah, like the JavaScript, it is completely is a object based structure, because it's good. The JavaScript can have the normal plain structure that it has, and even we can have the var, let this kind of the variable that can be available. But when coming to the TypeScript, it will completely follow the object oriented programming principles. What kind of the model class that is required, and what kind of the property that we need to define, those kind of things that we can define the TypeScript file. And the for the maintenance level, the TypeScript is more feasible because it is going to following the OOPS principles, and how we need to define the model classes under the TypeScript, what kind of the property that we can define it, like that we can define. But in case of JavaScript, it is completely, we are going to have the few different syntax. Only we have the var, and even we can create the object.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've got one more here
Yeah,
for
sure.
the Java piece. How would you handle concurrent enrollment requests to the same user to prevent duplicate transactions?
To prevent duplicate transaction.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, to prevent the duplicate transaction for the same user in the concurrency environment, because when the concurrency means it is going to executing the two different uh, process at a time only. Two different, the parallel process is going to executing when it is going to happening. And before that, the first, whenever the transaction that is going to coming, we need to verify what kind of the transaction has been requested, and parallelly we need to check for the second execution, we need to verify the transaction is already done or not. At the time we can avoid the duplicate transaction for the concurrent execution.
Okay, perfect. I think that's enough for now, Nagaraju. Thank you so
Yes,
much.
sure,
Great
Rakesh.
job. Thank
Yeah,
you for keeping the hands up like we
yeah, sure, Rakesh.
discussed.
Yeah,
I know that's not
definitely.
necessarily
Yeah,
comfortable, but
yeah.
I'm gonna stop the recording now. Give
Okay.
me just a second.